This video explains how to manage points of interest in a track of the day and how to use them for route planning. Because it is a complex topic, this video will be a little longer. So you need a lot of coffee and can look at it in several stages and follow it step by step. The list of chapters is helpful here. You can find them in the video description. Okay, then let's get started. Enjoy! POIs are the heart of many route planning. Track of the Day manages POIs in a local SQL database. POIs can be displayed on the map. The display can be switched between icon and name. We can see how this works here. If you click on a POI symbol, the POI preview is opened. This preview allows for many different features. You can use it to start the selected route at the current POI, to extend the route to the selected POI, or to integrate the POI into the route as a via point. All POIs can have an image or a screenshot. In the POI preview, you can search for images from Google Street View or Microsoft StreetSide, or add an image from your local computer. If you click on the image of a POI, it will be enlarged. If a POI was created via a website such as Google Earth, the POI contains the address of this website. If you click on this address in the POI preview, the corresponding website is opened. If several POIs with images are displayed on the map, you can jump directly to the next POI via the preview. The map is automatically centered at the respective POI. To view POIs in the database view, click on the icon with the SQL icon or press the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+D. The database view knows the categories tracks, routes, and POIs. Here we can see the POIs stored locally on my computer. Individual POIs can be displayed on the map with a double click. If you have selected several POIs, you can open them all at once. We can see how this works here. If the map contains many POIs, they can be a hindrance to route planning. Therefore, you can hide and show them again at any time via the button with the asterisk. Via the context menu of the map, you can show and hide all POIs, as well as remove them from the map. When removed, the POIs remain in the local database and can be added to the map at any time. The current map section is also a search parameter for POIs. To display the POIs in the database view that match the current map section, click on the button with the filter symbol. POIs stored in the database can be displayed on the map along tracks and routes. You can use POI type, POI category, or hashtags as an additional search criterion. We can see how to search for locally stored POIs along a route here. POIs can get into the local database in many different ways. You can create them yourself, import them from external websites, or find them with the POI Super Search and save them in the database.
in der Pfanne gebraten oder frittiert. Es gibt Shrimps mit Bananen, Limonenshrimps, Kokosnussshrimps, Pfeffershrimps, Shrimpsuppe, Shrimp-Eintopf, Shrimp-Salat, Shrimps mit Kartoffeln, Shrimps-Burger, Shrimp-Sandwich. Das war's, glaube ich. Ja.
Here we see a track that I recorded with my BMW Navigator 6. This track contains several pauses that are longer than 5 minutes. With the pause symbol, she can fade in and out. This button also has a context menu. This allows you to automatically create POIs from all pauses of a track. Here I briefly show how it works. This function is very practical, because if you stop for a long time on the way, there is usually a reason. These can be beautiful photo locations, biker hangouts, gas stations, and much more. If you download some routes from the internet, they often contain stops at sites or viewpoints. If you click on one of the route points with the right mouse button, you can create a POI at this point. For this purpose, a pop-up opens with the images that Google Street View contains at this point. If you click on the icon with the camera, a screenshot is taken and linked to a new POI. If you have geocoded photos, you can drag and drop them onto the map. Each geocoded photo then automatically becomes a POI. Photos without geo-coordinates can also be positioned at any point and imported into the local database. We can see how this works here. Via the integration of Apple iCloud, you can also import your contacts as POIs. The prerequisite is that all contacts have a valid address. We can see how to import a contact from iCloud as a POI here. When importing from iCloud, all vCards are first downloaded to the cache folder. Collections of POIs in GPX format can also be thrown onto the map or directly into the database view via drag and drop. Drag and drop of vCards from Microsoft Outlook is also possible. Here's a quick example. POIs can also be imported from text files that are in CSV format. To import a POI collection in CSV format, click on Add and select the CSV file. The dialog for the POI import opens. Missing POI types or POI categories can be created here. All POI types and POI categories can also be assigned an icon. If a POI category does not have an icon, the icon of the POI type is displayed. If the POI type does not have an icon either, a default icon is displayed. POI types and POI categories can be created completely freely. If a type or category is missing when importing POIs, click on the button with the pencil symbol next to the respective selection box. The Edit dialog for POI types or POI categories will then open. To create a new type or category, click on the button with the plus symbol. The new element is then appended to the bottom of the list and you can rename it there. For new elements, the button with the icon is always empty at first. If you click on the button, you can select an icon from the existing icons or create a new icon. For the creation of new icons, you can choose the integration of Font Awesome. Here is an example. There's also an icon editor that you can use to design your own icons. We can see how to do this here. If you click on the symbol with the cloud, a website with many POI icons is opened. There you can color the icons freely and download them as a zip archive. After you have unzipped the archive, you can use all icons for POI types and POI categories. Now let's take a closer look at the POI Super Search mentioned at the beginning. To open the POI Super Search, click on the symbol with the circle and the lightning at the top of the map. The POI Super Search can search in a map section or along a selected track or route. You can search for exactly one POI category at a time. At the top right of the dialog there are the three quick categories: gas station, restaurant, and hotel. In the list next to it, you can choose from many other categories. The section of the map can be chosen freely. With a slider you can set the maximum number of hits. For this example, we are now looking for petrol stations on the east coast of Sardinia. The hits are displayed on the map and in a list. This list can be sorted according to various criteria. If you click on an element of the list, the map is centered at the corresponding POI. The distance to map center sort moves the next item to the beginning or end of the list. If you click on a hit in the map view, a preview pop-up opens. Here you can see the category, the name, and the address of the POI. If you click on the geo-coordinate, Google Street View searches for images. You can delete the hit from the search or import it specifically. Within the list view, you also have the option of opening, importing, or deleting all hits in Google Maps. If you have changed the POI type and POI category, you can update the list display. Below the hit list there are 3 checkboxes. Here you can automatically search for image material from Microsoft StreetSide during the import. If you activate Skip Duplicate POIs, only POIs that do not yet exist in the local database will be imported. If the checkbox Add POIs to the map after import is activated, all POIs will be automatically displayed on the map. If you click on Import all hits will be imported into the local database. The map display of the POI Super Search can be enlarged so that it largely fills the dialog. This is very practical when planning your route, because you can see the current route and search for POIs in the respective map section. We can see how this works here. Once a route has been selected, you can use the POI Super Search to search for petrol stations along the route, display them on the map and integrate them into the route. To search along a route, activate the checkbox along the route. If a track is selected, along the track is displayed. If the current route or track is changed while Super Search is open, the Super Search will be updated immediately. If you move the main map, the Super Search map is also automatically recentered. Let's move on to other options for importing POIs. At the top of the map you will find the petrol station finder of ARAL or BP. This website is maintained by the operator and contains information such as opening hours, available services, and much more. To import one of these petrol stations as a POI, select the petrol station and click on the POI icon in the address bar of the browser window. Right next to the petrol station finder there is the website of camping.info. If a campsite is opened here in the detail view, the main map is centered on this campsite. Here, too, you can use the POI icon to add the campsite as a POI to the local database. Anyone who is traveling with a motorhome knows the problem: you cannot and are not allowed to park everywhere. Depending on the size of the motorhome, the search for a suitable pitch can quickly become a test of patience. Therefore, it is good to choose a few suitable pitches before starting a trip and, if necessary, reserve them in advance. The pitch finder can be reached via the icon with the large P at the top of the map. Again, the map is recentered when you select the details of a pitch. If you are planning a trip to an unknown region, you can use Google Earth to get a quick overview of the topography and local conditions. To start Google Earth, click on the corresponding icon at the top of the map. The Google Earth website will now open. Here you can look at the Earth from all directions, tilt and rotate, almost anything is possible. Many spectators will not know that Picos de Europa National Park. Since it's worth a trip, let's take a closer look at it now. To do this, we enter Picos de Europa in the search field at the top left. Several hits are suggested and we select the national park. Google Earth is now flying to this national park. On the right edge there are many pictures of this beautiful stretch of land that are worth seeing. Small blue dots mark special 360 degrees photos that have been inserted there by the users. Here, too, we can create all kinds of POIs without major detours. The keyboard shortcut Ctrl+B can be used to show or hide individual layers in Google Earth. For example, you can create POIs with beautiful landscape images without any labeling. Here we can see some examples. If you are logged into Google Maps, you can activate the globe view via the layers. This makes similar 3D perspectives possible as in Google Earth. In addition, many POIs and photo locations are now displayed here. If you select one of these places, you can also create a POI here without detours. Geocaching is a modern form of scavenger hunt. Geocaches are usually small cans that contain a piece of paper and a small pen. They are hidden by members of the geocaching community in particularly beautiful places and are waiting to be found. Once you have found a cache, you enter your name on the small piece of paper that you find in the can. Then hide the can again and start the search for the next cache.
Online. When you're done, just put the geocache back where you found it, and you're on to the next one. Hey, it's the other way. There's an adventure happening all the time, all around you. Become a part of it at geocaching.com.
Here we can see how the website geocaching.com is integrated into Track of the Day. For our example, we stay in the Picos de Europa National Park and click on the symbol with the geocache icon. A map with caches around the Picos de Europa is opened. If you click on one of these caches, a small pop-up window opens. There you can click on Download GPX. The dialog for the POI import opens. For many geocaches, there are GPX files with multiple GPX waypoints. These often mark a parking space and give the rough direction to the cache. Geocaching is fun and you are often taken to remote places that you would never have found without geocaching. Let's move on to the next valuable source of POIs. Above the list of routes and in the title bar, there is a button with a small globe. If you click there, the info pages are opened. This is a collection of predefined websites where you can find important information for route planning. We will now open this list and select the website of overpass-turbo.eu. Here we also focus the map on the Picos de Europa. Now click on Wizard and enter speed control as a search term. After we click on Create and Execute Request, many points with speed controls are displayed on the map. To import the list of these checkpoints, we click on Export and then click GPX and Download in the Data section. The dialog for the POI import opens again. Here we can set a suitable POI type and category and import all POIs into the local database. Other queries are provided by hotels or restaurants, for example. You can read about which queries are possible in the documentation for Overpass Turbo. Now I would like to introduce the integration of Booking.com. This can be found by selecting the submenu Open Hotel Search in the context menu of the map under Additional Views. Below the map, the website Hotel Search at Booking.com will now open. Here you can enter a region and a travel period. Alternatively, you can also open the list of regions and select hotels in Spain, for example. Now zoom in on the map to the Picos de Europa National Park. Some hotels are now displayed. Once you open the details of a hotel, the main map will be centered on that hotel and a POI in the style of Booking.com will be displayed. Here you can see how to choose the Hotel Picos de Europa. Again, we click on the POI asterisk. The dialog for creating a POI opens again. Here we enter the hashtag Booking.com and set the POI type and POI category. The hotel is now displayed on the map. We can look at the surroundings via the Street View function and notice that there is even a lockable private parking lot. Via the hyperlink of the POI, we can return to the detail page of the hotel at any time and can book a room if our travel plans are more advanced. Now I would like to show you how you can easily create POIs yourself. To do this, we switch to the Michelin card and take a closer look at Bilbao. Here we find a small green marker and the inscription Museo Guggenheim de Bilbao. With the green marking, we hold down the left shift key and click with the left mouse button. A pop-up will open showing the museum's name, address, and phone number. We import this POI into the database. If you click on the geo-coordinate of the new POI, you can virtually look around the entire museum, which is extremely cool. Because we might want to photograph the museum in the evening light later, we hold down the Alt key and click on the nearby bridge. Google Street View opens and we can create another POI. Now we switch to the aerial map and take a closer look at the museum and the surrounding area. A spider-shaped sculpture stands out. I click on the map at this point and a pop-up opens with the possible options. Here I click again on the POI asterisk. The dialog opens with the properties of a new POI. In the lower left corner you can see the geo-coordinates. If you click here, Google Street View opens again and you can take a closer look at everything. I name this POI Maman Louise Bourgeois and save the new POI. Now I want to show you how to import your own POIs from Google Maps. To do this, I open the website takeout.google.com. Here I click on Clear Selection. Then I scroll down to Maps, My Places, and mark only this entry. At the very bottom of the web page, I click on Next Step and then on Create Export. My places marked in Google Maps are now packaged in a zip file and made available for download by Google. If everything is ready for download, I receive an email from Google with a download link. I can now download and unzip this zip file. Then I click on Add in Track of the Day and select Google Maps POIs as the file type. Then I navigate to the saved orte.json file that I just unzipped. The file is now read in and the POI import dialog opens. I set a POI type and a POI category again and also assign the hashtag meanorte. Now I click on Import All and wait for a moment until everything is processed. Then I switch to the road map and zoom out so far that I can see Europe completely. Now I select Find POIs in the Map section in the context menu. In the dialog for the POI selection, I switch to the tab Search via hashtag and mark the hashtag MyPlaces. After clicking on OK, my POIs imported from Google Maps are displayed. On the internet you can sometimes find huge collections with POIs of different categories. These are often available as text files in CSV format. To import such a file, click on Add again and select Garmin POIs star.csv for the file type. Now the POI import for CSV files opens. Similar to Excel, you can specify how the columns of the CSV file are separated and which column contains what. As the CSV separator, I choose the semicolon. The data format table now displays the individual columns. In the title row of this table, I set the POI property to which the respective column content should be assigned. Then I click on Import and get a cup of coffee. After a few minutes, over 5,000 POIs are imported and displayed on the map. Moving the map is now noticeably slower. This is due to the fact that in addition to my places, all mountain passes in Europe are displayed from Google Maps. Our example has so far been about the north of Spain. Therefore, I would like to delete all passports from the database that have nothing to do with this region. To do this, I start the POI view. Here I now see a long list of all POIs currently visible on the map. In Live View, I can filter by POI category. I only use the filter to show my places from Google Maps. Then I click on the white garbage can in the upper right corner. This means that these POIs are removed from the map, but are still included in the database. Now I activate the category of pass roads again and focus the map on the north of Spain. At the top right of the POI view there is a red garbage can, which has a context menu. I'm right-clicking to open this menu. Now I select the entry Permanently Delete Unlisted POIs. Now I have to wait a short time and already only the POIs in the north of Spain are left. Now that we have been dealing with the import and management of POIs for a while, I would like to show you how to export POIs in GPI format to a Garmin navigation device. In this example, I'm using my BMW Navigator 6, which was manufactured by Garmin. Garmin has developed the binary file format GPI for the management of POIs on the navigation devices. Because Garmin keeps the specification of this format secret, POIs in GPI format can only be exported with the ancient Garmin POI loader. Alternatively, you can also use the free software GPS Babel, which does not support the full range of functions. If you want to have images, icons and warning tones, you need the old POI loader. In the export settings, the path to the POI loader must be entered. To install the POI loader, click on the orange hyperlink and start the installation. We can see how this works here. In the same way, you can also install GPS Babel and enter the path here. After this preparatory work, I connect and register my BMW Navigator 6 to this computer via a USB cable. We can see how this registration works here. For this example, I want to export all POIs around the National Park Picos de Europa as a GPI file. The dialog for the POI export can be accessed via the button Share. Alternatively, you can click on the symbol with the POI asterisk in the search field. If the dialog is open, all POIs of the current map section are displayed. If you want to export all POIs of the map, you can add them to this list. We can see how this works here. The POIs are now sorted and displayed by POI category. With the selection box at the top right, you can filter this list. If a route is selected, you can also export only the POIs along this route. To do this, you can select a maximum distance and remove all POIs from the list that are off the route. There are always 5 buttons in the list of POIs. With these buttons, you can center the map at the respective POI. If a hyperlink is stored at the POI, you can open it by clicking on the button with the globe. If you click on the button with the pen, the edit dialog for this POI opens. With the white garbage can, you can remove individual POIs from the map and thus from the export. If you click on the red garbage can, the respective POI is permanently deleted from the local database. With the 2 garbage cans above the list, you can remove all POIs or delete them permanently. Using the filter, I can also delete the POIs by category. To export the POIs within the list, you have to select a method for exporting. Once GPS Babel and the POI loader are registered, there are 5 different methods for exporting. We first select the GPX method. If no folder is entered for export under directory, you can select a target directory. We can see here how this export works and what is exported. The button with the 3 dots can be used to open the export directory. If you click on the garbage can, the content is deleted. If you click on the X, the name of the directory is removed and it is queried again during the next export. Let's take a look at what the export procedure GPX has exported. We can now export the GPX files as well as the icons and images to the Navigator with the POI loader. How this works is shown here. The POI loader now asks for each POI category how it should be handled. Here you can skip categories or set alarms for speed or approach. If you use the export method GPI with GPS Babel, there is nothing else to set. However, GPS Babel cannot generate proximity alarms. It is therefore less suitable for exporting radar warnings. Other supported methods for export are OV2 for TomTom devices and ASC for navigation devices of the type Tripe. At the end there is a small exercise to join in. Here I would like to show how to install radar controls for Switzerland, the Alps, northern Italy, and parts of France on a Garmin navigation device. If you want to follow it, click briefly on pause and carry out the steps shown on your own computer. Okay, that was our little joint exercise. If you liked this video, I would be happy about a thumbs up and a subscription. If you click on the little bell, you will be notified in the future when there are new tutorials for track of the day. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon.